Hi, so today we're going to talk about mitosis. So, have you ever thought about how your skin in the winter sometimes flakes off but yet you seem to always have skin? That's because your skin is constantly replacing itself through the process of mitosis, which is another name for a certain type of cell division. Each of our cells contains the genetic information inside of the nucleus. Remember we said the nucleus controls all activity in the cell? Well, why it controls everything that goes on in the cell is because it has these chromosomes, and the chromosomes are made up of DNA. You've probably have heard of DNA before, just on the news or in different shows, and that's all within these chromosomes that are inside of the nucleus. Now, each of our cells has 46 chromosomes within them. We get half of those from our mom and half of those from our dad. And we're going to get more into that in our next unit. So the first part of, or when we begin this cell cycle, it's called, is the cell has to go through interphase. The interphase is the stage where it's preparing itself to divide. And so that's why sometimes it's referred to as a resting stage, because it's not actively dividing. In this stage, though, it's not completely resting because there's a lot of things that are happening. During this stage, you have chromosomes that are duplicating, and you also have all of the cell parts like mitochondria, the ER, the Golgi bodies. All those different parts are also replicating or duplicating and making more of themselves during this time. Because if you think about it, what's going on is we have to make more cells, more identical cells. And so in order to do that, the cell has to make more of itself to divide into two. So it has to start off with one cell, and then during interphase, it doubles everything inside of it, the chromosomes, all the cell parts, and including the cytoplasm. So it has enough stuff to go into those two cells. So then, once the cell is prepared to go through this division, we can enter the true stages of mitosis. The first stage is prophase. This is where the chromosomes are going to start to coil up, because before this, it's like a tangled mess of chromosomes that are going on. During prophase, then they start to coil up because they're starting to organize themselves. Now, in order for the chromosomes to split into two cells, we have to get rid of the barrier of the nuclear membrane. So if you can see here, this part right here, that is the nucleus, and it has that membrane around it that keeps everything inside. Well, in order for the chromosomes to split into two different places, we got to get rid of that. So the nuclear membrane is going to disappear during prophase as well. Then we move into metaphase. This is kind of an organizational step because you see how the chromosomes here have all moved to the middle. And that's one of the ways I keep track of metaphase, is they all go to the middle. So metaphase middle. And you can see they almost look like X's here. Well, remember in interphase that the chromosomes duplicated themselves, and so really these are two chromosomes that are just held together. It's almost like there's a little belt around them that's holding them together until they're ready to separate. So right now, those doubled chromosomes are in the middle of the cell in metaphase. Then the next stage is anaphase, and this is another one where I think about anaphase away. And so you can see those replicated or duplicated chromosomes, they've split apart from each other. So anaphase away or apart. So half of them are going to go in this direction and half of them are going to go in this direction. So they separate from one another. Then we go into the final stage of mitosis, which is telophase. Telophase is kind of like the opposite of prophase in many ways, where the chromosomes are starting to thin out, so it looks like they're disappearing. The nuclear membrane, or that membrane around the nucleus, starts to reform around each group here. So there's one group of nucleus one group of chromosomes here and one group of chromosomes here. So there's two nuclei that are forming on either side of the cell. Now each of these is going to have 46 chromosomes, because remember we started with a cell that had 46 and we duplicated it in interphase, and then they split, so 46 went one way and 46 went the other way. And so then we're going to end up with two cells that have 46 chromosomes in them. Now you can see the cell membrane here is starting to pinch in, so you can start seeing the beginning of these two cells that are forming. Here's one and then here's another. Now to completely separate these two, the cell has to go through cytokinesis, and that means that the cell is splitting. So there's two new complete cells that are formed here. Here's one with its own nucleus, here's another one with its own nucleus. The cell cycle, which is the interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis, typically lasts on average about 22 hours. This can vary greatly depending on what type of cell. Some of you might have broken a bone before, and you know, depending on the type of break it is, it could take you 6 to 8 weeks to repair that broken bone. It takes that time for all those bone cells to be created to repair itself. Some cells take much longer. Some skin cells don't take they don't take 22 hours. And then you have some cells that never go through mitosis, like red blood cells don't go through mitosis. They only survive for about 120 days and then they die. Nerve cells also don't go through mitosis. Nerve cells can repair themselves, but once they are gone or dead, then they can't replace themselves. They never go through mitosis. That's why when people have spinal cord injuries, and they hurt their spinal cord really bad where it can't repair itself, those cells can't make more of themselves, and that's why people can't become unparalyzed, is because they can't make more of those nerve cells. So most of the time the cell is going through interphase. We have a couple stages here of interphase that we're not going to get into in 7th grade, but this blue part, green part, and yellow part is all parts of interphase. So most of the time it's going through interphase. It's preparing itself to divide, and only about 10% of the time is it going through mitosis on average. And then, just for fun, you can sing the mitosis song for your family. Have a good day.